Hey everyone, it's Elise, and today I just want to talk a little bit about Ezekiel 47, verses 8 through 9 and 11 and 12. And I'm reading in the New King James Version. Verse 8, Then he said to me, This water flows toward the eastern region, goes down into the valley, and enters the sea. When it reaches the sea, its waters are healed. And it shall be that every living thing that moves, wherever the rivers go, will live. There will be a very great multitude of fish, because these waters go there, for they will be healed, and everything will live wherever the river goes. But its swamps and marshes will not be healed, they will be given over to salt. Along the bank of the river, on this side and that, will grow all kinds of trees used for food. Their leaves will not wither, and their fruit will not fail. They will bear fruit every month, because their water flows from the sanctuary. Their fruit will be for food, and their leaves for medicine. And something I thought was interesting from this is that everything lives where the river goes. I was wondering why. It seems obvious enough, like if it's supposed to live in the river and it's in the river, it's gonna live. But I think there's a significant point that's being made here, especially when we go to verse 12, and it says that the waters flow from the sanctuary. The water's source is the sanctuary, and everything in it lives because its source is the sanctuary. And the trees on both sides of the river get their water from the sanctuary, and what happens to the trees? They prosper. And, this section of verses reminds me a lot of Psalm 1, verses 1 through 3. Blessed is the man who walketh not in the counsel of the ungodly, nor standeth in the way of sinners, nor sitteth in the seat of the scornful. But his delight is in the law of the Lord, and in his law doth he meditate day and night. And he shall be like a tree planted by the rivers of water, that bringeth forth his fruit in his season. His leaf also shall not wither, and whatsoever he doeth shall prosper. The blessed man's source, when we look at it, is the Word of God. He delights in it day and night. He meditates on it day and night. And he doesn't care about or want what the ungodly or the sinners or the scornful have. He just wants the Word of God, and he gives his life over to the Word of God. And he's prosperous. He's like a tree by the rivers of water that bears fruit in his season, and his leaf doesn't wither. And, when it says he brings forth fruit, it always makes me think of the fruit of the Spirit. So I'm going to read Galatians 5:22 and 23 in the New King James. It says, But the fruit of the Spirit is love, joy, peace, long-suffering, kindness, goodness, faithfulness, gentleness, and self-control. Against such there is no law. So when God is our source, we produce good fruit that doesn't die. So this brings me to two questions. The first one is, what is your source? So everything lives in the river because its source is the sanctuary, the house and presence of God. So what is your water source? Where do you pull your strength from? What's your substance? What's your driving force, your purpose, your everything? Who or what do you turn to? Is your source God, or is it the world? Is your source God's Spirit, or the desires that you want to fulfill? A good way to answer these questions is by checking your fruit. Take a look at how you spend your time. Take a look at how you react to situations, because that's an indication of our fruit. Do you react in love and peace? Do you react in patience to situations that come your way? How do you react to things? How do you respond? And my second question is, what are you doing with your source, or where does it lead? Because verse 11 of Ezekiel 47 says, But its swamps and marshes will not be healed, they will be given over to salt. And we have to be connected to the right source, but it also must have an outward flow to others. Because swamps and marshes, they don't have flowing water. It's, when you think about it, it's just gross water that doesn't move. And it said it would be given over to salt. It's like being bitter and not, like, salt water doesn't let things live. Salt water won't provide the nutrients that trees need so that the trees can produce good fruit. So, are you getting that inward flow from God, but are you letting him lead you? Are you letting him, use you to bless others? Because our fruits and leaves should bless others. Like in verse 12, it says the fruit would be for food and the leaves would be for medicine. It's going to bless others. But if we don't follow the river, the leading of the Spirit, and if we don't bless and pour into others, we become stagnant. And if we don't keep growing, we become stagnant. So I challenge you to continue growing closer to God. Make him your source. Get into the Word, get into his presence, let him change you and lead you and guide you. And use that to bless others. Don't just keep it in. Don't get too comfortable and stagnant to where you become a musty marsh or a salty swamp, as I like to say, after reading this passage. Use that to pour into others as well. God bless.